Today I'm going to talk to you about how to make it easier to play guitar fast, and more importantly, how to be able to use your increased guitar speed in real music, in real life. All right? So when you practice your guitar speed at home, you probably focus on your fretting hand and your picking hand and then the coordination between those two things. And that's obviously a pretty important part of building your speed, right? But the real important thing that you need to do here is not only train your hands, but to train your ears and your brain to be in sync with your hands. Because that's going to make the biggest difference in not only how your speed develops, but how consistent your articulation is, how clean the playing is, how accurate it is, how correct the rhythm is, how well the phrasing is. All of those sorts of things only really develop when all those, the hands, ears, and the brain are all in sync. So I've got a really cool tool here that we're going to use, just called speed bursts. And like you heard me playing a minute ago, all we're going to do is play a short little arpeggio, but you can do this really with anything really, any technique. We're going to play it fast, however fast you can play it relatively cleanly at this point. And then we're going to stop, kill the sounds, we're going to staccato at the end, and we're going to listen and analyze and think about what it is that we just played. Were all the notes articulated correctly? Was there any excess string noise? Was it in time? Was it in the rhythm correct? Do you have any other problems anywhere with the technique? Was anything buzzing or not ringing out clearly? See, when you play an arpeggio or a lick or something that repeats over and over and over again, it can be difficult to hear and analyze every single little tiny detail that you just did as you're playing it. Okay, this is why people always tell you to record yourself, like you should practice and then record yourself and listen back. People tell you that, and that's good advice generally, because those people know that you're not usually able to hear all that stuff that you just did and analyze it as you're playing. Well, what I'm going to do here is show you how to analyze it while you're practicing, so that you're not only able to do it without recording yourself, but you're able to do it all the time. It can be cumbersome to always practice in front of a computer and record yourself and all that stuff. So really important point, and this is where this is all headed, okay? When you practice something perfectly, when you play it perfectly, it feels a certain way. We want to memorize what that feels like. All right, before we get started, check out the link below. Download the tab that goes along with this video. It'll make it a lot easier for you to follow along with all the examples. Okay, so also leave feedback on this video. I like to hear what you have to think about it. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading more cool videos like this every week pretty much. So you'll definitely want to not miss on that stuff. All right. Okay, so now let's start with the very first example. It's just a very simple A minor arpeggio. We'll get into some cooler things in just here in a minute. But let's just start with the A minor arpeggio. And we're doing sweep picking here. So it's going to be downstroke on the first note, downstroke on the next one, and downstroke on the third note, then upstroke on the last note. And then we're going to kill the note right there. So don't do this, because that note's going to now distract you because you're hearing it. All right? So, and what you really want to listen for are the notes in the middle, specifically this one and this one. Because those, when you play fast, it's usually the notes in the middle that are hardest to hear. They're usually hardest to hear because they're in the middle of the pitch range, but they're also hardest to hear because the first and the last note are the easiest to hear. All right, so we really want to pay attention. Was there any string noise while I was playing the arpeggio? I don't mean any noise before or after, but while playing it. Were any of the notes bleeding together? Did you hear any of this? Right, if you don't want that sound, it should sound like this, right? It'll sound just like that, but faster. Not like... Okay, so that's the kind of stuff that you want to avoid, stupid mistakes like that, right? So you play it fast, you stop, you quickly analyze, and then you play it again. And you keep repeating that pattern again and again and again. And what's going to happen is you'll realize that sometimes you're playing it perfectly, sometimes you're not playing it perfectly. You'll be able to hear it in those breaks. Now here's the important part. This is the really critical part, okay? We want to change your habits from focusing on the physical part to focusing on the listening part. That's the first phase. The second phase is to move from listening to feeling. And that's really what professional players do. Yes, of course, they're hearing themselves. And yes, they're listening, of course. But when people play things that are complex or fast and they play them perfectly, you can feel that, okay? It's a feeling that you have not only in your hand, you feel it in your brain, you feel it in your whole body when you execute something and you know it's perfect. It feels a certain way. And you want to get to that point eventually. It may not happen today, but it will happen for you as you keep practicing and keep developing, all right? You want to memorize that feeling, all right? Because when you do, it makes it so much easier to get better. Because anytime you play something and it doesn't feel right, you'll know it immediately, even if you can't hear it. And there are lots of cases when it's difficult to hear, like if you're playing on a stage and it's really loud, it can be really hard to hear sometimes. Or if it's just going by so fast, it can be difficult to analyze everything. But you'll feel it when everything is in sync and everything is perfect. That's where you want to get to. All right, now we're going to look at example 2. This is the same A minor arpeggio, but now we're playing it like this. All right, now I'm repeating the bottom note, by the way. So this is a group of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then that would be on the next beat right here. Okay. What we want to do is play it fast and stop for 3 beats. Okay, so if this whole thing is 1 beat, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. And as I'm stopping, I'm thinking, I'm analyzing, and just reviewing what I did in my mind. All right. That's exactly how you should practice this. And then you can shorten the periods. You don't have to have 3 beats in between, or whole measure. You can do. So you're playing for a beat, and then you're resting for a beat. You can use, change arpeggios if you get bored of listening to the same arpeggio all the time. Obviously, you can change it, okay? It could drive you nuts listening to the same thing, or if you live with other people, it can drive them nuts, okay? All right, so as you see in example 3, it's the same thing, but 1 beat of rest in between. Okay? Again, pretty simple. But it's really coming down to just you listening very carefully. All right, now let's look at example number 4. It's very similar. We're just moving from A minor to C major. So we have a different texture here. Same thing. Just going to practice our arpeggio. Stop, listen, analyze. Same idea. Okay? This is very simple stuff, but it's very powerful. When you do this, make this a part of your practice routine, you're going to improve a lot because your ears, brain, and fingers start to get really in sync more. All right, now let's take a look at a more creative way to use these arpeggios, and also something that will make it not so monotonous and boring and repetitive to do the same arpeggio over and over and over again. And it sounds pretty cool. You can actually use this in real music. It sounds cool. And the other thing is, because we change arpeggios when you're practicing, it gives you a new challenge. When you just do the same arpeggio again and again and again, that's cool in the beginning, but you really need to move these arpeggios around, do some different shapes to really help train and get everything in sync, all right? So I'm going to play this same thing I played in the beginning of the video, where I was down here on E major. And again, I'm playing 7 notes in this pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then repeating the first note again. So technically it's 8 notes, but this would be septuplets, groups of 7, if you're playing along to metronome. Okay, then we're going up to F sharp minor, then G sharp minor, A major, B major, so this is all in the key of E major at this point, C sharp minor, and now we're stepping out of the key, and we're going to the A minor arpeggio, then C major, then E major, E major again up here, C major, E major, C major, E major, C major, D major, and then a high E note. Instead of playing the high E note in the 24th fret, which you can do, I just simply bent it from below so I can have the bent note vibrato sound. I think it's cooler than just simply playing the note itself at the 24th fret. So I'm pre-bending the note. So the note now is already bent to E, and then applying vibrato. Hey, real quick before you leave, if you want to learn how to double your guitar speed while cutting your guitar practice time in half, there's only one thing that's going to do that for you, and I'm going to give it to you right now for free. Check out the link below, click on that, it's awesome.